Welcome back from the break, and it's exactly 30 minutes past 8 a.m. And of course, at this particular time, we're heading to review what's making headlines. Not really headlines, but what's really making business headlines. Of course, in business, in sports, and at the same time, that is in entertainment at large. But don't forget, before we get there, Zabu just made your trading experience much more friendly and much more easier, as of course you can be able now to transact stocks and you regardless of whatever geographical location you are. You could be in the village, you could be somewhere very remote. Start 292 hash, and of course you will be in position to purchase stocks. You can even buy government bonds. Of course, the menu is quite very large for you there. You can select the option that you feel at heart that you should really engage yourself in. The market's open at 8:15, and of course, as I speak right now, they're already in operation. And of course, still in the 3:15 in the afternoon. So that is it's still East African time, and you're going to be earning yourself. And you're trading stocks. That's on Altex. Government bonds at the same time. Well, Zabu, my money, that is my future. Do something new for yourself. If you want to earn a side income, well, a very important venture that you should be able to get yourself into. Now, heading straight into the business in sports, we'll start with Juventus. And of course, looking at the Juventus shareholders approving Ferrero as president, that is Scanavio as CEO. That's Scanavino. Well, shareholders at the Serie A club Juventus have approved new board of directors and confirmed the appointment of that's Gianluca Ferrero as the new president and Maurizio Scanavino as the chief executive. Of course, in a statement, say that 87% of those holding voting rights voted in favor of the new board, which will remain in office until the date that's of the shareholders meeting convened for the approval of the financial statements as at 30th June, that is 2025. Well, very remarkable right there. Juventus shareholders approving Ferrero as president, and of course the CEO, Scanavino, away from there. Okay, now away from Juventus, we cross over to the FIFA Women's World Cup. As we see, the tournament passes 500,000 ticket sales, with 1.5 million being the target. More than 500,000 tickets have been sold for this year's FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, leaving organizers with just under 1 million to go to reach a previously stated target of 1.5, and FIFA is hoping to break a record in the tournament this year. And of course, this year is anticipated to be a bigger tournament than the previous editions, with 32 teams and 64 matches. That is compared to 24 teams and 52 previously. Well, something very remarkable from the sports right there, when getting to see what is really making headlines, and of course in terms of business. Okay, now away from sports, it's exactly 34 minutes, and now we're heading straight to the business and entertainment, and we're getting to see how it's really what is transpiring right there. But as always, every Friday is our movie review day, whereby we choose a particular movie that is of quite great interest to the public, and we get to understand the production budget, how was it made, where was it filmed, and also, but above all, the most important aspect is we review the behind the scenes, because the behind the scenes now we're explaining the movie budget. How was that movie made? Of course, for the last 3 Fridays, we've been doing movies, plenty. Of course, 3 movies definitely, and seeing how the budgets were, and we are really amazed by what it really takes to produce a movie. It's very interesting. A movie can be acted for 5 years, some of them, not all, but you're just going to watch it for 2.5 hours or 1.5 hours, because it's always 1 hour and 30 minutes. That's the average. 90-minute standard, sometimes 120 if it's really very extreme. And our movie of the day today, we are reviewing Avatar 2, that is 2, which was released that was last year, and so far as we speak, it has grossed already $1 billion and above. Actually, it has grossed above 1.5 billion US dollars in terms of box office ticket sales, and it's still selling. It's not yet done, so we anticipate, now we are trying to think by the time this year ends, where will this movie really be in terms of gross earnings. So today we are looking at How was this movie really made? What did it take to make this movie? Maybe just to, before we get there, of course, let's take a look at the trailer first as we are viewing it. Then we shall get into the behind the scenes as we are having this discussion still going on. Now, Avatar 2 was filmed across various locations, that is depending on what was being shot and what type of technology was being used. So that according to the technology and of course according to the locations was all determining the kind of technology that was being used. So meaning each place where it was acted had a certain technology that had to be put in it. Now that's the unique factor about Avatar. Unlike other movies, that even the cameras, the softwares that build these effects were special customized for Avatar. Wow. Very interesting. Man, people can really make really so amazing moves. Now, the motion capture performances, that is by the actors, that is to bring Navi to life and all, of course, to life. We're all in the US, of course, specifically on Manhattan Beach, California. This was also where some underwater scenes were filmed with the actors being in motion capture suits for this. Now we are still having just a brief regarding that before we get into the detailed movie budget in terms of making this movie. Now the live action elements of Avatar 2, which were integrated into the movie, were shot far away, that is in the United States. However, these live action components were filmed in in New Zealand, which is popular destination as a filming location for the biggest budget movies and TV series. By the way, New Zealand, just a hint on this, sometimes the location you shoot in a movie is going to determine how it's going to come out in terms of the visuals. One of the most famous movies which everybody actually loves watching lately, Game of Thrones, which has sold quite lots of amounts of money, talking about millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of ticket sales. One of the shooting scenes was New Zealand. Why? It has a very beautiful scenery. And when you have a good scenery, you don't really do too much on the effect because it really comes out naturally right there. So Avatar, the same time, that is how some of the places it was shot. Now, what we are viewing right there is more like we are viewing the behind the scenes, but of course they were in a room somewhere. But of course, further we shall get to see that they where we saw these characters in the movie acting in the jungles, they had to actually go there practically. So what we are seeing right there are motion capture suits. And now these motion capture suits, when you put them on, they're able to reflect the avatar-like icon onto you. So, of course, it had to take some time. And by the way, it was really hurting. It seems fun when you watch it there and sounds very simple. But imagine having that motion suit on you for some good time. And, most of these people actually said it was hurting. Some of them it was hurting. But the motion capture suits really were very, very influential. Now, still looking into these, we get to see that James Cameron set out to make the ultimate spectacle, breaking new ground for 3D movies, elevating visual effects to a whole new level. The resulting movie remains breathtaking to this day. It's still the highest grossing movie of all time. That's by a comfortable distance, of course, with a comfortable distance with Avengers Endgame briefly taking the crown before China re-release of the MCU in its place. Now, Avatar 2 is already catching up, approaching of course the top 10 biggest movies to be ever made. Of course, with the sequel cinemas now, some people may be wondering how much did Avatar 2 cost in terms of course the budget. Now, the estimated budget is about 460 million US dollars. This is quite a lot of money because there are movies which don't even reach this amount of money for their entire lifetime in terms of grossing. But if somebody can get that entire money that you earn as profit, and to them is their budget, so you get to realize how heavy really this movie was in terms of budgeting. So you see 460 is quite a lot. Now this makes it the most expensive movie in Hollywood in history by considerable distance. And of course, still further, this estimate comes via Deadline, which cited sources reporting that Avatar 2 budget to be around 460 million, more than $100 million on marketing. Now, there is what we call the budget, the production budget and the marketing budget, because you need to really put in some money when you're budgeting, you're promoting that movie. So we are still having a review right there on the behind the scenes. I think you get to realize that before actually this movie was acted, These avatar-like body, they had to get some sort of facial work on. So they had to put on all those creams onto their faces, and they could get those actual icons so that the avatar-like bodies could match their skin complexes in terms of the way they act in whatever they do. And that process was painful. It wasn't easy. Some of them weren't seen. By the time you covered with your eyes, with the entire body, with that whole cream, you can't see. So they had to go blind for some days. Yes. So when you see somebody earning $50 million on a movie, it's not just about reaching there and you act. Sometimes it's processing. You can even lose your sight, by the way. When you're doing this, it's very possible for you to lose your sight on that. So they had to take some time to build those creams, and now that is all money. Now we are estimating all that coming to about 50 million US dollars. Doing all that, the motion capture suits, because there are quite many, and a motion capture suit is quite very expensive. Now with this, there is a reduction of entirely depending on computer-generated images. Of course, ever since the technology of the motion capture suits was integrated. So now you can put on the motion capture suit and it can reflect that avatar-like body for you. And in that way, you will be able to really make some great impact. So you get to see that. So they just project you wear the motion suit. It gets your entire body details. That's why they had to get those facial work-ons to get the actual content. You can see James Cameron right there on the direction, and of course trying to make sure that everything goes really perfect. We know James Cameron to always beat. He always beats his records in terms of movie. Of course, making the most expensive movie, Avatar, and now he's coming back to beat his record to a very high place. You can observe a very interesting right there, and of course, there is quite a lot of time that is being put into there. It has to reflect the commercial value. Like I told you earlier, that most of the effects, most of the technology that was used in this movie was largely customized. And now, customization of a software calls for a very big budget. It attracts quite a huge budget when it comes to implementing a movie. So it's not just the normal software. Though I'm not saying these other softwares are not really relevant, but these are exclusive to Avatar, and they have that particular right. If you use them for another movie, similar like Avatar, you will be sued, of course, for the copyright. Now, still further, as I'm reviewing the report, we are still having a discussion. Today we are reviewing Avatar. Now, Avatar 2 is believed that's to have a budget of 460 million. And this estimates via, of course, the deadline which cited its sources reporting for 60. Now, James Cameron revealed that the sequel will need to be the third or fourth highest grossing film in history to be profitable. And of course, that's your threshold. And of course, that's the break even. That's according to James Cameron. That's what he thinks away from that. Now, the Way of the Water was originally said to have a production budget of 250. Of course, anticipations, rumors were moving on. Of course, anticipating that. And each three planned sequels, two of which may never go ahead in the first follow-ups, Cameron said. Now, what we are reviewing there, like I told you when I was starting here, they had to physically go into those places where the avatar was acted. That jungle-like area, and they had to travel to the likes of Hawaii, to shoot all that. They had to go into that real life experience. Actually, there is an actor right there we're going to see. They had to even go ahead to, James Cameron has a brother who works with the military of the United States of America. He had to be trained the military tactics with the military itself in America, because it had to be very perfect. Now, the reason why you're seeing these people going into those jungles trying to, imitate the, of course, they're trying to go into the environment where the movie was acted, where the avatars were, their avatar-like structures were. They had to get that feeling, that experience of the jungle very much so that they come to act, So you can see those actors into the water. Why? Because all these were embedded in the movie, as you can see right there. So they had to really get into that actual environment, though that is not where the movie was shot. But it was just to get them an experience of what they're going to shoot when they get back to the room that we saw them previously shooting that movie. So now we are looking at all these costs in terms of transport. They have to travel to these areas. Security is very important. You look at where they are having that military training. Actually, the people that you're observing right there, that gentleman got some actual military training. We shall be reviewing one of the brothers to James Cameron. Yes, right there. in the military of the United States, training that guy to perfect his craft when it comes to holding a gun. You should do it very, very perfect. Observe that. I mean, look at how timely these people put into the product they put out there. It's not just about putting something on air. And sometimes that really saddens me. When we do that in Uganda, our production's just about that. And we really want to attract huge amounts of money. It's never going to happen. Look at that. It's systematic. You want money, put money. You make the movie blow. In Uganda, we are trying, of course. I'm not actually criticizing Ugandans, but I'm just saying, we are now upgrading to give our craft time. It's something really needs time for it to break even. I mean, those experiences are so humbling when you have a look at that aspect. The arrows we saw in the movie, they had to get into that. So when they went to the jungle, they had to go back to that room and wear the motion capture suits. So putting on the motion capture suits would give them that emotion of the jungle. I mean, they would find it very easy to act out in the jungle right there. Okay, like I was still saying here, that The Way of the Water was originally said to have a production budget of $250 million US, and its 3 planned sequels, of course, which were earlier believed to be combined to one. So if you to compare the previous avatars and this, now it all comes back to a budget of about $1 billion US. I mean, setting up that entire structure, all that. Now take a look at that. That was a very interesting effect. Climbing that beanstalk up there, having to design it and make it look so real. It is something very, very interesting. Virtual environments being created around, all that is money, visual effects. And there are quite lots of some visual effects companies that are contracted normally to make these visuals to ensure that the movie really comes out very perfect. Sometimes some companies have their personal visual effects editor, and for the sake of cutting production costs, they hire their own. But for some case, you have to hire a production company. Now take a look. Now those are the photo shoots. They are getting the actual details of his body to incorporate them into the avatar, because they have to have the similar body looking structure. They have to have a similar moving line. So you get to realize how much time is being given in when these people are really producing these movies. Yes, of course, by a massive margin, Avatar 2 cost $460 million without marketing. Yes, while the original Avatar cost $237 million plus $150 million for promotion. So imagine $150 million promoting a movie. So there is what we call a promotion budget. So if we are talking about 460, and we let's estimate that, of course, the second Avatar might have a much more marketing. Okay, let's do bring it back to 150 million US. So add 460 million US plus that's production budget, then also include 150 million US marketing that movie. That comes back to about some good sums of money. Like it could be even coming to about 600 million. That's almost a quarter. I mean, you've crossed $500 million. Very, very, very heavy budget movie. So you can get to imagine how much does each actor, get paid at the end of the day. Definitely, we get to see that there are quite lots of most expensive movies that have been put out there. But the sad thing about some of them, they didn't really sell to the expectations. Yeah, of course, they sold out much more better. Avengers was quite very expensive, the visual effects that were put there. But Avatar still beats its record. Of course, Avengers is among the top-selling movies of all time. Yes, I can't really deny that fact. But Avatar is still really taking it away from that. Are you still observing, of course, how the visuals were put there, what we call the computer-generated images, of course, in incorporation with the motion capture suits, trying to, capture those images, the movements, and that. So now the question is, as our industry in Uganda, the reason as why we talk, I keep always saying this, is to try to create an inspiration for the Ugandan movie industry, whereby we can actually start having such production, such projects, such productions, which are very captivating, and in that way we shall be able to make something that is really very, very, very selling. And really, I'm just so amazed by how people they invest. And when we talk about investment, it's not just about money. But time is the greatest investment you can ever really put out to yourself there. When you invest yourself right, when you invest it right, definitely you will be having the right results. And of course, this is a movie that was distributed by Disney. And 2023, we anticipate that it's going to be really leading, because as we speak on the top grossing movies, ever since it was released till date, it is still the top selling movie amongst the top 5 movies grossing every weekly theaters. People are going in to buy the tickets for this particular movie, and they're really so excited to watch how really James Cameron sat down and put together this team and the production to ensure that that quality of the product really comes out very, very, very well. And you can imagine they spent sleepless nights doing that. And I'll tell you that the maximum hours they can ever rest is about 2 to 3, or if it's too much, it's 4 hours. But so if they have 24 hours a day, the 20 hours are spent on the acting and the 4 hours are used to rest. So you get to see that really time is accorded to to the projects that these individuals really put out there. And it's by no surprise that we see the results, that we see that they're able to amass these massive amounts of money, making really money out of their movies. Because you can find that on average, an actor there can walk away with about the leading actors, let's estimate about 30 million US dollars, regarding the movie sales. And they're entitled to certain royalties even as the movie continues. First of all, they're entitled to the first salary, the contract, let me say 30 million. Then the long run royalties, they are also entitled to be earning some of those as the movie keeps on selling. That it will be a very, 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 very important, and of which it's going to still keep selling, because even the original Avatar is still selling till date, regardless. So that's the beauty of entertainment. I mean, a product out there, you can, if you're really smart enough, you can live on a product for the rest of your life, because of the copyright being put out there, and you're really earning money away from that. And some of these actors are really getting endorsements. I was so amazed to see one old actor there called Second Weather. If you really watched some movies like Cabin in the Woods, yes, Cabin in the Woods, movies like there is this movie where she featured Taylor Lautner, very old lady, but she still comes back to wear these motion suits to act these movies. So it shows you how respectful they have towards their job. By the time a 65-year-old lady comes to be on set, so is really valuing, it's not for nothing. He's really going to walk away with a huge sum of money at the end of the day, and is going to have a very amazing livelihood. Very, very interesting. But however, however much we are watching this behind the scenes, sometimes we've seen actors getting injuries on set. Yeah, I remember in the year 2021, there was an actor that died on set when they were shooting a movie. And of course, one of the people, I think they used a real bullet, a live bullet, and he was shot. So you get to understand these actors go through a lot when they're making these movies. It sounds simple. Okay, the reason that's why it may sound simple, it's because what they're doing, they're professional at what they do. But if you're to be in his place where he is standing right now, where he was shooting that particular movie, there is a lot of fatigue that comes along with that at the end of the day. But still, it has a commercial value attached to that. It's not fatigue for no reason. It comes with a commercial value attached to it. But I think that is something that we should really be looking up to when it comes to the Uganda filming industry. I guess we shall be able to get some good competition, and sponsors can really come on board, because some of these movies still, despite the fact that the production companies can have the concept of the movie, they still they seek for funds to fund some of these movies. Netflix used to do that a lot, funding movies. Though lately there was a decline in terms of distributing funds to certain projects, of course, due to running a little bit bankrupt from that. Yes, and today, the movie review, today we are looking at Avatar, and I guess you've been able to see how it was filmed, understanding the production budget in terms of money allocated to produce this movie. $460 million budget, and of course, so far already grossing above 1.5 billion US dollars. That's across the theaters, the box office ticket sales. And the streamers are also doing quite a great job in terms of supporting this movie. And 55 minutes past 8 a.m. and this particular time, We are going to get into a short break, and when we return, of course, we shall be reviewing an insight regarding the NSSF report, Betty Amongi's report about NSSF, and of course, we shall also be having a review story way down till the hour of 9:30. Stick around. Good morning.